Hope you're doing good. This is Secrets Our Sun is Hiding Part 2. I know that the original Secrets Our Sun is Hiding video was not really a part 1 of any series at the time, but since then I have came across a lot of really cool experiments that you can do that are just mind-blowing, and they're observations as well. You're free to make them. Before you disagree and start typing in the comment section, know that we love you. We're not here to destroy your way of life, just to show you that you might have been lied to, and that there are some really simple experiments you can do to prove that you've been lied to, and they are very easy to follow, and they're very scientific. We are not ignoring science, okay? It's easy to be misled by simple observations without a deeper look, and we are going to take a really deep look into the sun without hurting your eyes. Hopefully you have your solar filters left over from the great eclipse we had. Depending on where you are, you may not have experienced that, but the experiments that we're going to do first, or look at first, prove that the sun, moon, and stars are very close and within the firmament. Okay, and many of you who have never heard of these sort of things, just trust me, it's going to get deep. There's logical explanations for everything, and our wisdom has been shifted to match the wisdom of the world, and we have lost all understanding of true wisdom until recently. It's starting to come back to us, so it's a really cool time. But I put out a video a long time ago, a couple months ago probably, so long ago, and it was about parallax, and I'm going to show you the video, parts of it, pause it, explain, and then show you some real life experiments that you can do to prove that what we're seeing with star trails and parallax with the sun and moon during one night are not what we should be seeing. And it's simple proof, and it has to do with distances to scale that they give us. Okay, this is a video from Cody's lab, and I'm just going to show you real quick the map. He mapped out the scale. He's trying to find the nearest star, and so he used a football field, and the sun and the earth and the moon were right here at the ends of these two yellow arrows. That's how close they are together. That's the sun, the earth, the moon. Okay, and then you have Voyager over here, supposedly, and Pluto right here. So this is the scale he used to show us how close things are. And when he went to show us where the nearest star would be using that same exact scale, he went really, really far, over about 129 miles, and that's a long distance. And you could imagine if you had a camera on the Earth and it was spinning, that it would look, that the sun and the moon would look much different than the stars within an hour of just looking at time lapse of those. Okay, I know there is some parallax. The stars, the moon, the sun have their own paths. Okay, and they've all followed them except for the chief stars that were prophesied to leave those paths, which are now called planets, but that's a whole other story. But in the video here, I'll go ahead and play it. This video gives you a simple explanation of what parallax is. Objects that are further away don't move as much as the ones that are closer. When you're spinning around in circles, or if you're driving in a car, or walking, or running, or whatever you're doing, objects that are far away will seem to follow you. When I was younger, I had a friend who said the sun and moon would follow him when he ran. Okay, that's a really cool, kind of funny observation, because I understood back then that it's not really what's happening, but it's that parallax. And so here's Cody's lab. I will spare you listening to him because I've sped it up really fast. He kind of sounds like a chipmunk, just to get the point across. But this is what he is saying. I believe this is the sun right here. Okay, and he's putting the earth right there. The earth and moon. And they're really small. You can't even see them until he zooms in. Then you could see them. So trying to imagine yourself being on that dot right here, Earth, looking out at the moon and the sun. And just with these distances here, the moon and the sun, you would see some observable parallax differences on a spinning globe Earth. Many of you will disagree. That's okay. But he lays out the planets and whatnot, but then he goes to lay out the nearest, not the other stars, but the nearest star to us, and he drives it really far, like I said, about 128, 129 miles away, and lays down that first star. That's great and all, okay? But we should see some major parallax, and I will show you an example here. This is really cool. I found this on QNFEE channel. I'll share this in the description. But this is the moon right here. This is the sun. You'll notice you can see some stars here if you don't believe me, and you will not see any stars here, but they had to adjust it so you could actually see. But just watch how these things move across the sky. Same camera, same shutter speeds. And if you didn't know that the one on the left was the moon, if it wasn't labeled, you wouldn't know. Okay, so to me, they look quite a bit alike, and I know it's the camera settings. I understand. But they move at the exact same speed. And if you trace their trails, kind of like the star trails here, they will match up the sun and the moon. They'll be the exact same size. It's really hard to tell though because it's so bright, the sun is. But you can see they look identical. These star trails, all of these lines are making perfect circles, and they're all the same size, moving at the same speeds. Okay, when you look at these star trails, or these are not star trails, these are time lapses here. The stars move as if they are all together inside of the firmament. And you look at it and you just kind of think, wow, that does look like it's inside of some sort of almost like dome-like structure or something. They're all one solid piece moving together. Looks kind of cool. And you wouldn't be wrong. That's exactly what it looks like. Now, there are some experiments you can do to prove that this is not what we would see with the sun, the moon, and stars quite easily. So let's take a look at this video I came across here on this channel, Chris Van Matter, if that's how you say his name, not sure, but really cool. I'd done this myself after watching this, and he's not being deceptive. I got the same results. But let's watch parts of his video and see what he says.
I set up an experiment in my living room. This light here is further away. This light here is a lot closer. So what I did was I mimicked a star trail. Thanks to Good Times for All, that was genius, showing me how to use the star trail settings on the P900 to come up with this thought experiment. As you can see, this light that's further away is a much shorter trail than this one that's closer. And I've done this with 2 or 3 other experiments doing the same thing. Now here's another experiment that I set up in my living room that's pretty much the same as the first one I showed. This top light is further away, this one's a little closer, and this one's the closest. This is just refraction off the lens here. So this is our furthest light away, so I drew a line on it. Now we'll come down and we'll measure this light. And as you can see, it's a little bit longer than the top one. Move it down here to this light. And as you can see, the bottom or the closest light here is a longer trail. I decided to take it outside and do a little bit larger experiment with distances further away, and I found these 3 street lights. Also, there's 3 stars. Now this is the closest light, and I've measured it. Take it over here to these ones further away. You can see they're much shorter. And then if we look at the stars that are way out there, you can't see any kind of trail. That's because the light's further away. So when you have a light that's closer, the trail should be longer. The further away they get from you, the shorter they should be. And again, the stars. No streak in the star whatsoever because it's so far away.
I hope that experiment made a lot of sense to you. I wanted to show you our experiment where we actually repeated everything that he did in his experiment. Not that I don't trust him, seems really honest, but I wanted to do this myself and just see if the results would be the same using lights at various distances. So I use what I have around me, and we kind of live out in the country a little bit, and there's a ridge line over here. This would work really good if you guys can do this in a city where it's flatter. Where I live, it's sort of concave. If you were to go out off my front porch and point a level towards the east and point straight out, it's below the horizon. It goes about halfway up the ridge. And if you look west, you're all this direction. On the other side of our property, there's another ridge, and it's above the horizon. So I'm kind of in the concave part of Earth over here. It kind of dips down. So in a really long, spread out valley. But I'm pointing my camera in this experiment towards the ridge line that you saw, and this is looking eastward where the sun would rise. And I did this just as the sun went down so I could use nighttime mode on my camera and see all the distant lights and compare them. And the lights that you see are street lights, and the furthest one I could see was about a half mile away. Not very far. It didn't even go to the other side of the railroad tracks. So definitely within a half mile, maybe 3/4 of a mile at the most away. I put a flashlight on top of my truck that was parked right here, and I set my iPhone up with the flashlight turned on in my driveway, and it's further away than the earth was from the sun in the picture. I should have put another light over here to kind of represent that, the moon or sun, but I wanted to be fair to the globe and just see what kind of results I can get like this without being biased towards the flat earth model. And what I got was quite surprising, because you can see this green line is actually traced over a light trail that you can see here from the furthest light I can find. And I would drag it down and kind of see if it matches the other lights, and I was surprised to see that it was pretty close to the one on my truck. I was like, oh, okay, not getting the results that I thought I would get. But when I came to the closer lights right here, you can see quite a bit of difference, a noticeable difference. And again, this is a half mile or so away, not 128 miles. You could imagine if there was no moisture in the air and you can see that far, 128 miles, I don't think that line would hardly be more than a half inch over here, maybe tiny. But this was just at a half mile, and I'm seeing change. And you can zoom in on that and kind of see a better look at how much of a difference there is in these two lines, these two light trails. And we do not see this with star trails. And to me, that's just kind of one of those extra nail in the coffin type situations where the sun, the moon, and the stars are proven to all be within the firmament and closer to each other. Doesn't mean that they're closer to Earth. It's really kind of hard to say that it means that, but they are all at least closer to each other with the stars not being light years away from the sun, moon, and Earth. And the sun definitely not being millions of miles further than the moon. And that's very easy to prove. You can do this experiment yourself if you don't trust us. That's okay. Share your results. Now, this next characteristic of the sun that we're going to look at is really cool, and it has to do with the size variations of the sun throughout the day. Not really going to look at the temperature changes, even though that's really kind of damaging to the globe model, I believe. But the size changes are very significant, and you can see them, and we are aware of why you see them, and it's usually because of the moisture in the air magnifying the sun, because it acts like a lens. People know that. Some people know that. But the sun often looks bigger at sunset and sunrise, and that's because you were looking horizontally through a lot more moisture than you are when the sun is directly overhead at noon. But if you remove that moisture, the sun will shrink as it goes down. And I had someone in the comments of our first sun video talk about this, and they did some math for me, and very close with their math. I'm not even going to try to do the math. If they're wrong, they're wrong, but they're probably very close. They were talking about the sun should not shrink visibly, and this is a globe earth person who believes in the globe. They were probably very angry at me for making the last video, but they saw the video that we had put in there of the sun getting smaller as it went down when you were in a dry area. And I will show that again to let you see what we're talking about. But this person said that if the sun is 93, or if the earth is 93 million miles to the sun as the globe spins, you're closest to it at noon, and you will lose sight of the sun just after another quarter revolution. So that would be half the earth's diameter, or 4,000 miles. That is a whopping 0.00000431108% difference in distance. Exactly what that translates to in observable size difference in the sun, I'm not sure. It certainly wouldn't be observable with the human eye. And I believe you were right, not making fun of you at all. And I wanted to show you what some people sent me because I was replying to this comment, and we were kind of going back and forth, not getting heated or anything, just trying to explain some things to each other. He was trying to educate me, and somebody sent me a link to a Wolfie video that I looked at and watched, and when you watch it, it's a sunset time lapse using a solar filter. And everybody in the comments was like, this proves the globe, the sun didn't change sizes, and it did not appear to change sizes. But that is the simple-minded, misleading scientific proofs that are killing the truth movement, because people see this and they go, nope, earth is round, sun's really far away, it's not changing sizes. But you have to take a deeper look at things, and you cannot be biased when you're doing this research, and you got to be humble. You can't let your pride stop you from looking for alternative answers. But again, I took a screenshot of the sunset at its lowest point here, and I'll go back so you can see. Took a screenshot at its highest point in the video, and right before it vanished, took a picture of it here, a screenshot rather. And I looked at them, and it's hard to tell a difference when you're going back and forth in size. They look very similar, but when you zoom in, you can see that this size difference here, because the one on the left here is the sunset one, and this is when it's up higher in the sky, probably closer to noon, really not sure. But you enlarge them, you can see a size difference that we should not see on the globe Earth model. This is more than a decimal place. This is more than 0.01 or 0.001. Okay, so definitely if you put 4 zeros in there, this looks like to me 20%. I haven't really done the math on this or really done any crazy measurings. I just wanted to show you stuff that you can see with your own eyes. Don't have to do crazy math. I'm not going to throw any crazy formulas at you. The truth does not need such nonsense. Now, here is some more. I've done more. I didn't just look at his video and go, that's it, that proves it. Went and grabbed a couple more, way more than this, but I just wanted to share you some examples of other ones that we looked at. Here's one when the sun is small. This is with a solar filter, and you enlarge it, and looky here, definitely more than a decimal place percentage change in size again and again over here. And this sun actually just looks like it's getting squished. Like it's not even, like the top half stays the same size, but then it starts to get squished. I know that has something to do with when it's going into that sort of false horizon like you see at the ocean, where boats just kind of vanish into that. So not really sure exactly the phenomenon causing that, but that's some sort of mirroring effect. And then you look over here to the left, this was shot in a desert with no filter. And look at the sun when it's up high in the sky versus when it's disappearing or about to vanish. Very small sun. In that video that I'll show here in a little bit, we'll show you this, and you can watch it. It looks like this sun is getting further away, because it is. As it circles over the earth, the sun is actually moving in a circular pattern around the Earth. And now this one I found really interesting. This is pretty cool. Somebody did a high altitude balloon with it facing the sun because of the solar eclipse, and they were showing us the sun at takeoff. You can see it right here, fills in this red circle. What I found very interesting is when the balloon got closer to the sun and it was around 114,000 feet high, the sun was much smaller looking. And you look here, you can see a difference in the picture. Look at the background. One thing you see is it's blue. Over here, black. What would cause this sun to get magnified? And that's the moisture in the air. It does act as a lens. That's not something we made up, because when you get above that, you can see there's less moisture. Sun gets a lot smaller. So the sun that we think we see usually isn't really accurate, because it would be much smaller without all the moisture in the air that we have. Okay, so that's really cool. I'm going to show you the video I promised of the sunset in a desert, and I will leave you a link to where we found this. I think it was Dr. Zach. I think it was his channel. So here's the sun, really large looking. I know this is exaggerated because of the glare, but watch the size change as this thing goes down. Very tiny. You pause that right there. Look at that sun. Very, very tiny. There is hardly any moisture in the air. Very dry climate. That's what you will see in those areas. You can go somewhere where there's moisture near the ocean. Sometimes you watch the sun go down over the ocean and it looks gigantic. Okay, it'll look bigger than some of the nearby structures you see. So it's very, very drastic differences depending on where you're at. The sun is not shrinking and growing and all of those weird things. It's just the appearance of changing sizes. It's really just getting further away from you. The last thing we're going to look at is how far the Earth is said to move around the sun on any given day. And it's quite mind-blowing, because I'm a visual person. I like to make visuals and see things that I can actually look at and get a quick understanding of what I'm being taught. Not really good at just seeing something written on a page or hearing things. I like to see it. So here is these little blue circles here, or blue dots, are actually the Earth. Just shrunk it down. I kind of shrunk the Earth down so that it would fit on this page. But how many Earth distances the Earth would travel in a single day, it would take all of these Earths, because they say we're going the 66,600 miles per hour around the sun, and that is a total of 201.8 Earth distances per day, or if you want to do that in miles, 1,598,400 miles. So quite the journey for just one day. So I put out a video of this image of Earth from space, and it was taken from the Titan, from Titan, when they, I think the spacecraft was called the Huygens spacecraft, but they were going to Titan. And what happened is they sent us some footage of the Earth, as you can see in this little dot here in the thumbnail I have, and the moon, and they're passing in front of the Earth, and I will let you see that. So here's the Earth right here. This little dot here is the moon, and if I hit play, you'll see it move across the sun. So here it goes, trucking along, Earth. And my thought was, if the Earth moves that far on a given day, it's almost going to make it around the sun pretty fast. That was my thought when I first saw this, and I thought this had to have been over a period of weeks, and the moon would be going around the Earth during that time, but instead it was keeping its equal distance as it went along. I may have been wrong if you're basing it on the perspective and the fact that the Earth moves this far per day. You may see something like that, so I might have been wrong on that aspect of it. But one thing that no one has been able to answer, this is the one question. I know they always say, well, you flat earthers don't have a model that can explain star trails properly, but on the opposite end of that, you have the globe model, where star trails look like this when during a night you are moving, if it's, let's look back at the numbers here so I don't make a mistake. If you're moving 201 Earth distances per day, it's about 100 Earth distances per night, because it's night half the time. Okay, so you have that going on. We're spinning, and that's the Earth's slowest motion. You have to agree with me, if you're using the globe model, the spin is not very far. Okay, half of the circumference of the Earth, and it's not nearly as much as what we just saw it moving around the sun, but we're making perfect circles with the pole star, the stationary pole star right here in the center, and it's been that way for centuries. Okay, people say since before Christ, and people are like, well, it wasn't that star before Christ, it was something else back then. And that's okay, but if it's staying there for any number of minutes, even more than an hour, we know something is wrong. And that has to do with our journey around the sun not existing, because we're not going around the sun. We are on a stationary plane, and these stars and the sun and the moon are all within the firmament that were created by our Father, and He put it there, and He knew we would be deceived someday by the powers of darkness, and it would take away glory from Him. But He's humble. He's not just going to come down and go, look guys, look here, right here, just look up, look at this. You have cameras now. The guy that the Freemason that invented the heliocentric model, the sun god worshipping model, didn't even have a telescope or cameras. He just went out and looked at the stars. So you guys, use your brilliant minds, take a look outside, watch the stars, see what's going on, and you'll be quite amazed. And that's what I did when I first came into this journey. And I was always curious that if we're going around this sun, because I've broken it down here on a pie chart, per day you would move as much as this red filled in part of the pie chart. Not a large movement, and that's why I was thinking that footage was taking place over a large period of time. But this Earth is not to scale. It would be a little tiny dot, and it would move several or a couple hundred times more than its own diameter within this red line here. So it's really, really challenging to scale things down with this model they give us, and that's why it's easier for us to be deceived, because they give us these large numbers that make it really hard for us to create accurate visuals on any scale. Now, one thing that I want all of you to do, if you're looking into this for the first time, please don't take our word for anything. Look into this stuff yourself. And here's something I put together when I was first into this movement, I guess about 6 or 7 months into it, and I had been making my own observations, basing them on the globe model, and thinking that if it's true, I should see what I would see if I was on a ball going around a giant sun. And I wasn't seeing that. And here's what I'm talking about. People don't understand what I'm saying. So I made a video. I haven't put this on our channel because I haven't really looked much into it. But my thought was, if this is the sun, this is Earth as we have always thought it was and how we imagined it in our minds, the nighttime side of Earth is where you see stars. I hope you agree with me. When it's over here on this side, these people are experiencing daylight. They don't see the stars unless there's an eclipse. But over here, I look out into the vastness of deep space and I see stars. Well, in 6 months, where's this ball Earth going to be? Over here. Where's the nighttime side of this Earth going to be? It's going to be facing a different direction. And this animation shows you that. And I pause it along the way. But here's the Earth spinning, tilted on its axis. We're looking this direction, okay, at these stars. 3 months, I would be looking at different constellations entirely almost. Okay, we're now facing this direction. But 6 months, I would be on the other side of the sun looking at stars that you and I have never seen. They're on the opposite side of the sun. I looked at these stars every night, and it was quite game changing for me in my belief, because I wanted to prove all things and go out there and look and make observations, and I was seeing the same constellations for an entire year. They did shift with the sun. When the sun went south for the winter, the sun kind of moved across the sky. It went in a southern direction, and its circular path changed on the Earth, and that's what's responsible for our seasons. And when it did that, the stars and everything seemed to move with it. I thought that was really, really cool. A really cool observation. And you can make this observation yourself. It's very, very simple. Not trying to deceive you in any way, and could be wrong about some points. But again, it's about being humble enough to understand that we've probably been lied to, and no, not every single scientist is in on it. It's not it's not like that at all. They're all deceived, and their really smart minds are just repeating everything they're told, and they all just want to get published. It's not about being right, it's about looking smart nowadays. And if you question what you're told, you can get in big trouble. And many people have. And I'm sorry if you're one of those people. We are not allowed to understand how awesome our Father is and how much He loves us. And we're not allowed to teach that in many places. So share the good news, share the truth, wake up as many people as you can. Please know that we do not hate you if you disagree with us. Take a deep breath before you comment, and just, tell us where we're wrong. That's fine. We will still be okay with that. We get so much hate, and it's okay. It's not our job to save everyone, but you guys have eyes, and I trust that you will use them, and you will be unbiased in your research and collecting data. Share anything with us you have that proves otherwise. I'll be glad to look into it. Okay, so thank you very much. I've enjoyed going over this stuff with you guys. Hope you learned a little bit of something, and if you want to see more videos like this, let us know, and we will try to break things down a little deeper and find out some more answers and the truth about creation in general. So thanks again. Love you guys. God bless.